Alexander's victory at the Granicus River echoed across the Persian Empire. The impossible had happened. A young king from Macedonia, leading an army far smaller than Persia's, had defeated the empire's western governors in open battle for many cities across Asia Minor. The outcome changed everything. Until that moment, most believed Persia would crush the invasion within weeks. Now, many began questioning whether the great king could truly protect them. Alexander understood that battles alone would not win the war. He also needed the support of the people living under Persian rule. So instead of treating every city as an enemy, he adopted a different strategy. Greek cities that welcomed him were often allowed to govern themselves. He restored local governments, reduced certain taxes, and declared that he had come to liberate the Greek cities of Asia from Persian domination. Whether every city viewed him as a liberator is still debated by historians. Some welcomed him enthusiastically. Others simply accepted the new ruler because resistance seemed impossible. Either way, Alexander gained something priceless: momentum. One city after another opened its gates. Sardis, one of Persia's most important administrative centers in Western Asia Minor, surrendered without a fight. Its governor realized resistance would only bring destruction. Alexander entered the city peacefully. He respected its temples, protected its treasury, and stationed a Macedonian garrison there. His behavior sent a clear message. Those who surrendered would often receive mercy. Those who resisted faced war. As the campaign continued, Alexander marched south toward the Aegean coast. His objective was not simply to conquer territory. He wanted to eliminate the Persian navy's bases. Although Alexander possessed only a modest fleet, Persia still controlled a powerful navy. As long as Persian ships operated freely from coastal ports, they could threaten Macedonia's supply lines. Instead of challenging the Persian fleet at sea, Alexander chose to defeat it from land. By capturing every major harbor, he would leave the enemy fleet with nowhere to anchor. It was a brilliant strategy. Without fighting a massive naval battle, he slowly stripped Persia of its maritime advantage. Not every city surrendered peacefully. One of the strongest challenges came at Miletus. The ancient city possessed impressive defensive walls. Persian forces prepared for resistance. Alexander surrounded the city. His engineers brought forward siege equipment. The defenders fought fiercely, but after intense fighting, the Macedonians forced their way inside. The city fell soon afterward. Alexander reached Halicarnassus. Unlike previous cities, its defenses were commanded by one of Persia's most capable generals, Memnon of Rhodes. The same commander who had earlier advised avoiding open battle, Memnon fully understood Alexander's strengths. He refused to fight recklessly. Instead, he relied upon strong fortifications, powerful walls, and disciplined defenders. The siege became one of Alexander's toughest challenges so far. Massive siege towers rolled toward the walls. Battering rams pounded the gates. Archers exchanged endless volleys of arrows. Fires erupted across sections of the city. Again and again, the defenders launched counterattacks. At times, the fighting continued deep into the night. Alexander personally inspected the front lines, encouraging exhausted soldiers, directing engineers, adjusting tactics whenever necessary. Eventually, the Macedonians breached parts of the city's defenses. Realizing the situation had become hopeless, Memnon evacuated many of his troops by sea. Alexander captured most of Halicarnassus. Although parts of the city were damaged, its fall removed another major Persian stronghold. Yet Memnon's escape worried Alexander. Unlike many Persian commanders, Memnon remained a dangerous opponent, experienced, patient, and highly intelligent. Fortunately for Alexander, events soon changed the course of the war, not through battle, but through illness. Ancient sources report that Memnon suddenly died while organizing further resistance. Exactly what caused his death remains uncertain. Some historians believe disease claimed his life. Others suggest natural illness. Whatever the cause, Persia had lost one of its finest military minds. Alexander's path became far less difficult. With Western Asia Minor largely secured, the Macedonian army continued south, crossing mountains, forests, and coastal plains. The campaign demanded enormous endurance. Soldiers marched for weeks beneath intense summer heat. Supplies traveled across difficult terrain. Engineers repaired roads and bridges. Doctors treated wounded men and exhausted animals. Victory depended upon far more than fighting alone. Alexander never ignored logistics. An army without food, without water, or without discipline could never conquer an empire. Along the journey, Alexander encountered something that deeply impressed local populations. He frequently visited temples, offered sacrifices to regional gods, and respected religious traditions, rather than forcing conquered peoples to abandon their customs. He often allowed them to continue practicing their beliefs. This policy helped reduce resistance. Many communities realized life under Macedonian rule might not differ greatly from life under Persian administration. Alexander also surrounded himself with trusted companions. Among them, one man stood closer to him than almost anyone else, Hephaestion. The two had grown up together, studied under Aristotle together, fought side by side since youth. Ancient writers consistently describe their friendship as exceptionally close. On campaign, Hephaestion became one of Alexander's most trusted officers. Whenever difficult decisions arose, he was often nearby. Another indispensable commander remained Parmenion, older than Alexander by decades. Parmenion had served Philip II faithfully for years. His experience balanced Alexander's boldness. The young king often favored daring attacks. Parmenion frequently advised caution. Together, they formed an effective partnership, youthful ambition supported by seasoned judgment. As Alexander marched deeper into Asia Minor, news of his victories finally reached the Persian royal court. This time, the reports could no longer be ignored. King Darius III now understood that the Macedonian invasion represented a genuine threat. Unlike the satraps defeated at Granicus, Darius commanded the full strength of the Persian Empire. He immediately began raising a massive army. Messengers traveled across his empire, from Mesopotamia, Armenia, Babylon, Media, and distant eastern provinces. Soldiers answered the royal summons, cavalry assembled, infantry gathered, supplies filled enormous storehouses. The great king intended to crush Alexander personally. Meanwhile, Alexander continued his campaign through southern Asia Minor. Many cities welcomed him. Others resisted briefly before surrendering. Every victory strengthened his reputation. Every mile carried him farther from Macedonia and deeper into enemy territory. Still, his army remained remarkably confident. They had followed Alexander across rivers, through mountain passes, against fortified cities, and had won every major engagement. Confidence spread throughout the ranks, but confidence alone could not defeat Persia's king soon. Two of history's most famous rulers would finally stand on the same battlefield. One commanded the greatest empire on earth. The other, a young conqueror who refused to believe that anything was impossible. Their meeting near the small town of Issus would become one of the most decisive battles in ancient history. Alexander had marched hundreds of kilometers through Asia Minor. City after city had fallen. Persian governors had been defeated. Ancient fortresses had surrendered. Yet despite every victory, the true war had not even begun, because until now, Alexander had fought provincial commanders. The man he had crossed into Asia to defeat still remained untouched. Darius III, the King of Kings, ruler of the Persian Empire. As Alexander continued south along the Mediterranean coast, Darius was assembling one of the largest armies the ancient world had ever seen. Messengers rode across thousands of kilometers, from Babylon, Media, Armenia, Mesopotamia, and the eastern provinces. Soldiers answered the royal summons. Noble cavalry arrived with their personal guards, archers, spearmen, mercenaries from Greece, royal bodyguards, engineers, supply caravans. The Persian Empire possessed enormous resources. Unlike Alexander, Darius did not need to gamble everything on one campaign. He ruled an empire capable of raising army after army. Ancient historians often claim Darius commanded hundreds of thousands of soldiers. Modern historians believe those numbers were greatly exaggerated. Even so, his army almost certainly outnumbered Alexander's. The advantage in manpower belonged to Persia. Alexander knew it. His officers knew it. Every Macedonian soldier understood that the next battle would be unlike anything they had faced before. As summer turned toward autumn in 333 BC, Alexander became seriously ill while staying near the city of Tarsus. He reportedly entered the cold waters of the Cydnus River after marching through intense heat. Soon afterward, he developed a dangerous fever. His condition worsened rapidly. Some feared the young king would die before ever meeting Darius. The entire campaign suddenly hung in the balance. Without Alexander, everything his army had achieved might collapse overnight. A physician named Philip of Acarnania volunteered to treat him. At the same time, a warning reached Alexander. According to ancient accounts, one of his officers handed him a letter. It claimed that the Persian king had secretly bribed the physician to poison him. The accusation was terrifying, if true. Accepting the medicine meant certain death. Alexander calmly read the letter then, without hesitation. He handed it to Philip while drinking the medicine at the very same moment. The physician read the accusation in shock. Alexander never showed fear. He trusted the man completely. Fortunately, the treatment worked. After several difficult days, Alexander recovered. The episode became another famous story illustrating the extraordinary confidence that inspired those around him. Whether every detail occurred exactly as ancient writers described remains uncertain, but historians agree Alexander suffered a serious illness and eventually recovered. Meanwhile, Darius made an unexpected decision. Rather than waiting on the wide plains where his numerical advantage would matter most, he marched north, attempting to cut Alexander's supply lines. The maneuver surprised everyone. For a brief period, the two armies actually passed each other without realizing it. Then, reports arrived. Darius had positioned his army behind Alexander. The Persian king had captured several Macedonian soldiers left behind because of illness. Ancient sources describe them being executed. Alexander immediately turned his army around. There would be no further marching, no more maneuvering. The decisive battle had finally arrived. The two armies approached each other near the small coastal town of Issus. The battlefield itself proved surprisingly narrow. Mountains rose on one side. The Mediterranean Sea stretched along the other. Only a limited space remained between them. Ironically, the terrain reduced Persia's greatest advantage. Its superior numbers could not fully deploy. Alexander immediately recognized the opportunity. His smaller army would not be surrounded. Instead, the battle would depend upon discipline, leadership, and timing. On the morning of the battle, both armies formed their lines. The Macedonian phalanx occupied the center. The companion cavalry assembled on the right. Parmenion commanded the left wing near the sea. Across the field, Darius watched from his royal chariot, surrounded by elite guards, royal cavalry, and thousands of soldiers. The Persian king expected victory. He commanded one of the greatest empires on earth. His army appeared endless. Ancient writers describe colorful banners stretching across the valley. Trumpets echoed between the mountains. The silence before battle seemed almost unbearable. Then, Alexander gave the order. The Macedonian line advanced, steadily, patiently, not rushing toward the enemy. Every soldier maintained formation. The long sarissas pointed forward like a moving forest of spears. Persian archers released volleys of arrows. Some Macedonians fell. Others immediately stepped forward to close the gaps. The line never broke. Soon, the armies collided. Steel struck bronze, spears splintered. War cries filled the narrow valley. The fighting became desperate. The Persian center pressed hard against the Macedonian phalanx. At several points, the line nearly collapsed. But Alexander had been waiting for exactly the right moment, leading the companion cavalry. He launched a powerful charge toward the Persian left. His horsemen smashed into the enemy with tremendous force. The attack created confusion. Persian cavalry attempted to respond. Alexander kept pushing forward. His objective was not merely defeating enemy soldiers. He wanted Darius himself. If the Persian king fell, the battle would end immediately. Closer and closer, the Macedonian cavalry approached the royal position. Darius watched the attack unfolding. Around him, elite guards fought desperately. Many died defending their king, but the Macedonian advance continued. Then, the unimaginable happened. According to every major ancient source, Darius lost his nerve, seeing Alexander break through the Persian line. He turned his chariot around. The King of Kings fled the battlefield. Once soldiers saw their ruler escaping, panic spread. Entire sections of the Persian army collapsed. Thousands threw down their weapons. Others attempted to flee toward the mountains. Some were trapped against the river. The retreat became chaos. Alexander wanted to continue pursuing Darius, but another crisis demanded his attention. On the opposite side of the battlefield, Parmenion faced enormous pressure. Persian cavalry threatened to overwhelm the Macedonian left wing. Alexander reluctantly abandoned the chase. He rode back across the battlefield to support his struggling commander. Together, they finally secured complete victory. The Battle of Issus had ended. The Persian army had been defeated. The King of Kings had escaped, but he had left behind something extraordinary: his royal camp inside. Alexander discovered unimaginable wealth: gold, silver, royal furniture, magnificent tents, and perhaps most importantly, Darius's own family, his mother, his wife, his daughters, all had been captured. When the Persian royal family learned Alexander had entered the camp, they reportedly believed Darius was dead. Ancient historians describe the morning before Alexander arrived. Instead of treating them as prisoners with cruelty, Alexander surprised everyone. He assured them that Darius was still alive. He allowed them to retain their royal dignity. They would be treated with respect. This act spread quickly throughout the Persian Empire. Even enemies began recognizing that Alexander could show remarkable generosity after victory. Soon afterward, a message arrived from Darius himself. The Persian king offered peace. He proposed friendship and sought the return of his captured family. Alexander rejected every offer. His goal was no longer victory in a single campaign. He wanted the entire Persian Empire. The war had only just begun. The Battle of Issus had transformed the war for the second time. Alexander had defeated a far larger Persian army. The King of Kings himself had fled the battlefield across the empire. Shock spread faster than any messenger could ride. Many believed no foreign ruler could ever defeat Persia in open battle. Alexander had now done it twice. Yet despite this extraordinary victory, he made a surprising decision. Instead of chasing Darius immediately, he turned south. Many of his own officers questioned the move. The Persian king had escaped. Would it not be wiser to pursue him before he could raise another army? Alexander thought differently. He understood something far more important. As long as Persia controlled the eastern Mediterranean coastline, its powerful navy remained a serious threat. Persian ships could attack Macedonia, disrupt supply lines, or even encourage rebellions in Greece. Alexander intended to eliminate that danger forever. The only way to do it was by capturing every major port along the coast. One city in particular stood directly in his path: Tyre, located on the coast of modern-day Lebanon. Tyre was unlike any city Alexander had encountered. It was one of the wealthiest trading centers in the ancient world. Its merchants sailed across the Mediterranean. Its craftsmen produced famous purple dye worth enormous fortunes. Its harbor sheltered powerful warships. Most importantly, the main city stood on an island nearly 1 kilometer from the mainland. Massive stone walls rose directly from the sea. Some reached heights of almost 50 meters. Generations of enemies had failed to conquer it. The people of Tyre believed their island fortress was untouchable. Alexander arrived outside the city in early 332 BCE, did not immediately demand surrender. Instead, he requested permission to enter peacefully and offer a sacrifice at the ancient temple of Melkart. To the Greeks, Melkart was closely associated with the hero Heracles, whom Alexander deeply admired. The Tyrians refused. They feared allowing Alexander inside would mean surrendering control of their city. The gates remained closed. Negotiations ended. War became inevitable. Most commanders would have abandoned the siege. Building equipment capable of reaching an island fortress seemed almost impossible. Alexander chose another solution. If he could not reach the city, he would build a road across the sea. His engineers began one of the most astonishing construction projects in military history. Workers gathered stones, timber, earth, and rubble from the abandoned mainland settlement day after day. They dumped enormous amounts of material into the shallow water slowly. A massive causeway extended toward the island. The defenders watched in disbelief. Then they struck back. Tyrian ships attacked the workers. Archers filled the sky with arrows. Heavy stones crashed onto the advancing construction crews. Many Macedonians died. Progress slowed. Alexander adapted. He ordered gigantic wooden siege towers to be built upon the growing causeway. The towers were covered with protective hides soaked in water to reduce the risk of fire from their tops. Archers and catapults fired back at the defenders. For a short time, the strategy worked. Then the Tyrians launched one of the boldest attacks of the siege. They filled an old transport ship with dry wood, pitch, sulfur, and other flammable materials. Waiting for favorable winds, they sailed the burning vessel directly toward the Macedonian siege towers. Within moments, flames spread everywhere. The enormous towers caught fire, workers fled, several sections of the causeway were badly damaged. Months of effort seemed ready to disappear. Many armies would have abandoned the siege. Alexander did not instead. He expanded the project. The causeway became wider. New siege towers were constructed. Fresh timber arrived from nearby forests. Ships captured from other Phoenician cities joined his growing fleet. As more coastal cities surrendered, Alexander gradually gained naval superiority. The island that had once relied upon the sea for protection now found itself surrounded. After nearly 7 months, everything was ready. Catapults pounded the walls, battering rams struck weakened sections of stone, warships attacked from multiple directions. Finally, part of Tyre's mighty defenses collapsed. Alexander gave the order. The assault began. Macedonian soldiers stormed through the breach. Others climbed ladders from ships approaching the walls. Fierce fighting erupted throughout the city. The defenders resisted desperately. Street after street became a battlefield. But the outcome was no longer in doubt. Tyre had fallen. The victory came at an enormous cost for both sides. Ancient sources describe heavy casualties. Modern historians debate the exact numbers. But all agree the siege became one of Alexander's greatest military achievements. Consequences reached far beyond a single city. With Tyre captured, Persia's naval power in the eastern Mediterranean suffered a devastating blow. Alexander's route toward Egypt now lay open. Before reaching Egypt, one final obstacle remained: the fortified city of Gaza. Unlike Tyre, Gaza stood on a high hill overlooking important trade routes between Asia and Africa. Its governor refused to surrender. Once again, Alexander prepared for another difficult siege. Massive ramps were built. Siege engines advanced. The defenders fought stubbornly. Alexander himself was wounded during the fighting. Even so, he refused to leave the battlefield. Eventually, the walls were breached. Gaza fell now. Nothing blocked the road to Egypt. Unlike many regions Alexander had conquered, Egypt welcomed him for generations. The Egyptians had lived under Persian rule. Many viewed the Macedonians as liberators rather than invaders. When Alexander entered the country, cities opened their gates. There was almost no resistance. The Persian governor surrendered peacefully. Alexander became the new ruler of Egypt without fighting a major battle. His arrival marked the beginning of an entirely new chapter. While traveling along the Mediterranean coast, Alexander selected the site for a new city. He personally helped plan its location: wide streets, a great harbor, centers of trade, and connections between Africa, Asia, and Europe. The city would bear his own name, Alexandria. Although Alexander would never see it reach its full glory, Alexandria eventually became one of the greatest cities of the ancient world, a center of learning, science, commerce, and culture for centuries. From Egypt, Alexander made another remarkable journey. He crossed the desert to visit the famous Oracle of Amun at the oasis of Siwa. Ancient rulers often sought divine approval before great undertakings. Alexander was no exception. Exactly what occurred inside the temple remains one of history's mysteries. The priests spoke privately with him. No official record survives. Later traditions claim the oracle greeted Alexander as the son of the god. Others believe the conversation has been greatly exaggerated over time. Historians cannot say with certainty, but one fact is clear. Alexander left Siwa with even greater confidence in his destiny. He no longer saw himself merely as king of Macedonia. He believed he had been chosen for something far greater. Meanwhile, far to the east, Darius III had not surrendered once again. He gathered another massive army this time. He carefully selected a battlefield where his superior numbers could finally be used to their fullest advantage. The plains near a small village called Gaugamela. There, the greatest battle of Alexander's life was about to begin.